live, and right now there's 8 people in the universe going, wait, they're streaming on a Friday? To all
yes.
8 of you, yes, we are streaming on a Friday.
We are. Things have been done. Buttons have been pressed.
To like the 35 new subscribers this week, or I don't know, we're that have come up. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it so much, all the support.
Oh,
I'll speak for Corey on this one. He does too.
What's that?
How are you, Corey?
I am. I'm doing
All
okay.
right.
A lot going on here lately, but we're keeping on.
Keeping on. Hey, chat's up. Stream is up. I know we didn't stream 2 days that we should have this week, but you know what? Life has its purpose and other things, and I'm going to call just for that reason. I'm going to say 20 seconds because 20 seconds.
Because seconds.
No. Yeah. 10 seconds.
Yep.
5, 3, 2. Hey, everybody. Mike and Corey back with you. I bet you missed us because we missed doing the show, obviously. Back with you again for another exciting episode, show, whatever you want to call it, podcast of Not Your Average Show. Are we a pod? I guess, we don't actually physically podcast. So, I mean, this is, what are we? What are we? I don't know what we are.
We're
we're a show.
I don't actually.
I know. Hey, let us know in the comments below what you guys think we actually are. And if somebody comments something that's like not polite or very negative, we'll remove it. Hey, no, can we do that? We can do that, right? It's our show.
We can moderate the comments.
We can do whatever. But okay.
Yeah, if you guys get out of hand, then
in comes the law. Ooh.
In comes the moderation.
There you go. Anyhow, it is October 29th, 2021. We are back. It's a Friday. Surprise, surprise. We are here. And we are getting ready to celebrate the Halloween weekend. Obviously, for those of you that do on Sunday, hope you have a safe one, obviously. And hey, man, how the hell are you?
Yeah, as the intro, yeah. I mean, we're doing okay. Yeah, actually, some of the stuff that some of the reasons we didn't stream this week was over here on my end, just busy. Life got in the way. Stuff's happening, so couldn't make it. But here we are now. Figured we'd get a Friday stream in. And,
blame him.
Yeah, where is
him.
it?
Yeah, blame
there,
him.
Right up there.
Blame that guy over there. We'll do like the old Brady. I'll give you the old Brady stare. Really? Yeah,
Brady
like,
bunch.
really?
You look around.
Really?
This way, right? Yeah, perfect.
It's his fault. Blame.
Yeah,
I just point. Yeah, it's his fault right over there. I'm gonna put an arrow on the wall from now on, so I just know to point that way to say it's your fault. Oh, look, the camera wants to track my pen and it doesn't want to track my face anymore. That's great. Hold on a second. I love when that happens. Thanks, camera. Anyhow, all right. So we got a couple things to talk to you guys about today. We're going to be talking to you about, obviously, unless you live under a rock, Dune was released, and these two guys right here watched it. So we're going to talk about our impressions about that towards the bottom of the hour. Corey's going to, I almost called you Lori. Lori.
Lori, that's great.
Corey's going to lead off about it. As you know, we've been following a lot of battery technology here on the show, and like literally 4 or 5 different manufacturers all hinting at the fact that they've now gotten to a level of solid state battery where they feel comfortable that they might make it to marketplace. Going to talk about that one. Then we got one more company that's going to be entering into the eVTOL scene with a twist. It's AMSL Aero with their Vertiia, and there's actually it's unique. I'm going to say that. So if you stick around, we'll be talking about that one after the batteries, but it is quite unique in its design and its approach. So there's lots there to talk about. So we'll get to that as well. We didn't discuss which article did you want at the top of your segment on batteries?
I think the one from Clean Technica.
Okay, hold on.
Because that one kind of, I think it works best. It'll go in with some of the other things we'll talk about. Yeah. And then the Tesla one, obviously, they'll come after that, but it's...
okay, so I got the Clean Technica.
It's kind of separate.
I got the Hyundai, and I got the Teslas. Okay, So Clean Technica is the one that you want top of the list. Okay, we can do this. All right. So here, without further ado, is Corey to take the floor about new battery tech.
Sweet. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so hey guys, what's going on? Good to see you. Welcome back. This next one is basically talking about solid-state batteries. So on the channel, we talk about EVs, aerial vehicles, but also on the road. And of course, we always kind of hint that battery storage, battery density is always something that's going to really help the whole thing, help the whole market increase in how it works. So basically, this thing from solid-state battery tech, pretty exciting. So basically, one of the things about battery tech and EVs is there's the anode and the cathode in the batteries, and then there's electrolyte in the middle, and we have electrical flow from one side to the other, and that's how we use how we kind of store also, but how we can use some of the batteries in EVs, whether it's in the air or in the car. And sometimes we've said, okay, if cars catch on fire, you've probably seen about those. That has to do with that electrolyte or the battery getting punctured, damaged in some way. Maybe it wasn't manufactured properly. Anyway, solid-state batteries can help us with that because they replace the stuff in the middle of the battery, where a lot of basically the electrolyte is. And in the cars, you may have heard about currently, like Teslas, they have lithium-based electrolyte. Some of these other companies are doing different kinds of things with the electrolyte in the middle. But again, the main idea is to kind of get rid of the ability for there to be a short circuit in the electrolyte in the middle of the pack itself. And so we come to solid-state batteries. And so this thing here talks about a few announcements. There's a few things in here. So first off, basically there's a company called SK Innovation. And the announcement they've made, they've partnered with a company called Solid Power. And why do you care about this? Well, Solid Power is a company that's already said to be partnered with Ford and BMW a while back to work on some of the battery tech. That going along a little bit further, we also know now that this partnership's been announced, we also know that SK Innovation is also going to be the battery supplier for the second gen Ford Lightning. So just kind of following that chain of thought through there, are we going to see tech from SK Innovation and Solid Power make it to the second gen F-150 Lightning solid state battery tech? I don't know. I'm pure speculating, but we'll see. That could be a thing. So yeah, they're just going to basically license their tech and their know-how, their proprietary information over to SK Innovation, and SK is gonna do all the manufacturing and supply the packs. I'll throw it to you first, and then I'll keep going. But what do you think about that?
So you're telling me that the Ford F-150 Lightning, which has the potential to be the best-selling EV truck in America, now suddenly might deliver with solid-state batteries, or second gen.
The next version. Yeah. That, as far as we know.
And when you tell me that, I go, if you're an early adapter, you just totally got hosed, because if you're going to get one of the first year models, then you're not getting this technology, is what you're telling me. Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay. When you get burned on a small piece of technology, and we talked about this before the show, kind of, right? When you're an early adapter for something that costs under $3,000, I think, hey, 3,000 to 6,000 is that range where you take a flyer on a piece of technology and go, hey, the next version I might be able to pick up and I'm okay. A $72,000 truck with a range of 250 miles, which is obviously Ford's first entry into really hammering the electric truck market, coming with shortened up batteries in terms of able to deliver, say, range and ability. That's a slap in the face. Honestly, me personally, I think that if they could, because they're already delayed, we read a report the other day that said they're delayed a couple of weeks, right? And actually a couple of months. Why not just work that battery tech in and delay them maybe 9 months and then go from there? I don't know. That's me.
I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, we've always said that, and not that it's a big huge secret, of course, but Ford's F-150, that's the bread and butter. They love their trucks. Everybody loves their trucks, as they sell a bunch of those. The Lightning itself was going to be something to disrupt anyway, because it's an electric truck, and some people just don't want a truck that's electric. It's it is what it is, but nevertheless, to push their electric tech a bit further, as we said, solid state batteries. So if we get solid state batteries in the Ford truck, it's going to be super safe. They're going to increase battery density with the chemistry they use. It's a win. It's definitely going to be a win for that. Once we get
Side note, you know who's delivering cars this weekend? Lucid.
I did see
Yeah.
that.
We'll talk about that maybe at the end of the show. Totally forgot about that. But Lucid. So anyhow, yeah. So so the second part of this though is something a little different in the technology. What was that part?
Yeah, so I got something else too out of this same announcement as well. So also another big player, of course, you guys will know, Hyundai. Hyundai's announced that they, in a press release, which actually I didn't get to you, Mike, but I put a press release down below, so it's in the description down below if you guys want to check it out too. But they announced in a press release that they are partnering with a company called Fractal Energy, which is out of Woburn, Massachusetts, over here stateside, to do their electric solid state battery tech for Hyundai electric vehicles. And so, okay, if you don't know who Fractal Energy is, that's fine. But some big names that may help you kind of understand where they may be coming from. There's some people over there at Fractal, such as Joe Taylor. This is CEO of Panasonic North America, and executive chairman on the Fractal board. There's also a guy named Dieter, and I'm not going to mess this up, but Dieter Zetsch, former CEO of Mercedes-Benz, and a gentleman named Mark Fields, former CEO of Ford, also at Fractal.
Are they on the board?
Interesting names.
You're kidding me, right?
Names. I am not kidding you. So there's some interesting things there, just so you guys know. So that's definitely pretty interesting. So Fractal is also saying again that they're working on their own proprietary solid-state battery tech, and they're saying that they're basically exchanging safer, obviously because it's solid state, but also something that will extend driving range by 20 to 50%, and is going to be drop-in compatible with what they're already working on. So it shouldn't be too hard to integrate once that part of the tech changes.
Man.
So that's pretty crazy too.
So basically, if Ford can screw their first-time electric buyers, the Ioniq, which actually is getting rave reviews. Everybody that has reviewed this car on YouTube has literally raved about it, saying that it is an equal, if not better, than Tesla Y competitor, are also going to get screwed on their solid-state batteries on delivery because they're going to have to wait for this technology as well. Just saying, the Ioniq represents a different perspective of the marketplace. We looked at it a couple. Was it the Ioniq or the Kia, the other one that was that we looked at, which they're getting really, really good reviews. Yeah, it was the Kia that we looked at, right? Yeah. The GT. That's fantastic, though. I mean, it's good to see them, but man, with that type of a board, it makes you wonder. That's something that I think that these guys could very well deliver on. Now, if they get the materials or not, that's another thing, right? Materials are hard to come by these days. So
yeah.
Which actually I think speaks well to what Tesla was talking about, how they're going to do their batteries a little different with their extraction purpose. Proprietary extraction they're using salt, right? We talked about that a while ago too.
Oh yeah, a while back we were talking about how Elon, oh man, what was that? How Elon was working on a new way to extract raw material from
clay or something like that, right? And then what's the other? There's the Tesla tech that left.
Yeah, so the third part of this, the third part of this whole chat here. And just so you guys know, we put it all together, but it's actually a different article. But it's over from CNET, or the Rodin Show over on CNET. But basically, it basically says that Tesla's prototype battery. So of course, they're still working on new battery tech. They are claiming that it's up to 5 times more energy dense over from Panasonic. So this is basically another huge name in battery tech, obviously Panasonic. And they're saying that they're working on some batteries that say costing up to 50% less to produce. But they literally call them boosting battery production at Panasonic by 100-fold. So again, they're looking to obviously make them way cheaper, and then get a whole lot more of them out the door. Now, we talked about lithium-iron-phosphate over from China's CATL a few days ago, a CATL.
Right.
To produce some of the batteries for Tesla's, what they would say their standard range, not their super high models, but most of their cars. For that, and those batteries, if you remember from that conversation, those are going to be a whole lot cheaper to produce. They're going to be able to make them in a different form factor, so it's a little bit more. They can pack a little more of them in there.
Right.
So even though they're cheaper to produce, they're still going to be able to get the same amount of battery energy out of the same pack size. So the range shouldn't change. Is where I'm going. So cheaper to produce, about same range, and they're going to last a lot longer too. And this was all tied into that Hertz announcement we made a few days ago too. So. Yeah. What do you think about that, man?
I think it's crazy. Okay, who was that other battery manufacturer that was an ex-Tesla engineer that left, because they're making their batteries too? And I just think that this is the ramp up of what you actually need to have happen in the marketplace to know that it's coming, right? Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon for better efficiency. You really need to drive this in order to make everyone want to adapt to an EV vehicle because let's face it, in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, a 250-mile range isn't going to do it, right? For some places, you literally have to drive 7 hours to get from one town to the next, and we're talking about places out in like Montana, the western part of the country. I'm also places like Australia. A lot of the regions out in Russia have the same, before the whole world adopts EVs, there's a lot of technical hurdles for places that really need the range. And this is that part of delivering that experience, right? Interesting to see that everyone's arriving nearly at these same battery announcements at the same time. And I don't know, that's maybe they want to have one-upmanship in the marketplace.
Right.
Let's see who delivers them first to a vehicle, and then I'll be even more excited. But yeah, it's anticipated. It's time to start following the money of investment on the raw materials because these guys are going to be grabbing after the same raw materials time and time again to make these things happen. That's going to be important.
Yep. And just for my last bit here on this one as well, I wanted to just do a little bit of a stretch from automotive to aerospace sector here.
Oh.
If we're going to talk about really well integrated and well produced solid state batteries, now we have a bit better chance of having them go into planes and stuff that flies, things that fly, because we get way better battery density, things that are cheaper to produce, and oh, by the way, they're way less chance of catching on fire as your main source of propulsion. Oh, it's not going to catch on fire,
right?
Since again, lithium or old types of battery runaway is not going to be an issue. That's all good. The only thing I don't know, which I didn't find in these articles, and really it applies it applies to cars, of course, but it applies a bit more to things that fly, is what's the weight going to be? Weight difference between these, like a comparable lithium ion pack and whatever to this new lithium iron type of pack. Like, what's the weight comparison? I don't know. That. If I can find out some of that, I'll pass it on to you guys. Really, with the aerospace sector in mind.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, so I don't know, but we'll see.
Go ahead, close this one out because there's something else that
perfect. Yeah, so thanks for sticking around. A few things here. I know a lot of big players in solid state battery tech coming. A lot of exciting things coming, and you can be very sure we'll be talking about this in the future shows. So please like, share, subscribe if you want more content like this. We very much appreciate all the support lately. And remember to hit that bell down there to be notified whenever we go live. You can participate in live shows or anytime we post a video.
There you go.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. One of the articles that we should have brought up for today, but maybe we'll do a little bit more research on it, is the fact that they're trying to oversimplify the helicopter controls. And when you talked about that, totally forgot about it. And it was announced that there's a company that's actually out there working on some stuff, and we'll definitely bring you that on Monday. We could do a quick thing on it now, but it's too late to really get it into the show because we'd like to prepare more notes on it. But that was something that struck me in my mind, so don't let me forget about it.
Yep.
That one. Okay, well, great. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The raw materials. That's all I can say is probably the most important thing right now is the raw materials, and people got to think about that. I don't know. Now, the other thing that really, I guess, is going to be more impactful, we talked about that there's a lot of shipping delays and a lot of ships that are literally sitting off the coast right now. And where those raw materials come from is going to be part of your cost factors or where they're assembled. So, interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. We got more for you. And when I say we got more for you, lately, we've been able to at least one per episode, I guess. We've been able to hit an eVTOL or a VTOL, something that's coming out in the marketplace, because they're everywhere. I mean, you can't walk 2 feet and not bump into an eVTOL manufacturer or something of that nature, it seems like right about now. Let's talk about this one here. This one comes to you from New Atlas, and they're talking about a unique Aussie box-wing eVTOL that promises radical efficiency and huge range. And there's a catch, but it's actually a pretty remarkable catch, and the fact is that outside of their design, this is the company called AMSL Aero, is preparing to start flight of what claims to be the world's most efficient eVTOL design. And it's also one of the most affordable, and that's because it's going to be running on hydrogen of all things, which is quite unique. And right now that they're saying that it will travel up to 620 miles, which is unique. okay, on one tank of hydrogen, carrying 5 people, okay, or roughly 1,100 pounds of cargo at a cruise speed of about 186 miles an hour. And it's doing this with this box design. It's a really great looking aircraft. From my perspective so far, that from what I've seen, they're using a technology that is going with a hybrid system where not only the propulsive units move, but it looks like the aft part of the wing assembly also moves. And they're saying that there's a lot of reasons why this box design has not been successful for many designs, and that is because the box wing design has always suffered from, at least in the fixed wing, where there's air being dragged through, over and above, most notably in like a biplane or something of that nature. What the problem is that they get what's called flutter, and that's because the upper and lower camber wings, they bend, then they twist, and then at some point in time they'll do what's called frequency coupling, meaning one will mimic the other. They'll go in a rhythmic, basic rhythmic solution to just basically do nothing else but tear the wings off the aircraft. So that's an interesting design. Taking a look at it, it looks like an MD. It looks like a biplane MD 500 from the tail. It really does to me. But what's your feelings on it, man? What do you think? It looks like they've got all those numbers kind of ticked and all those boxes checked. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, interested to see again interested to see some of the testing they do and see if we can find some more out about that. The range sounds great. It sounds like they're looking to have a good range, looking to have a good amount of people on board for an air taxi kind of vehicle. It looks like it's going to be more of exactly that, air taxi-ish, not so much cargo or anything other than really transporting people from one place to another. It has to go along with one of the same things I bring up every time we talk about hydrogen, though, is what's their long-term goal in terms of where they are they looking at vertiports for these? Are they going to have hydrogen available somewhere to fill these things up in such a way that it's going to work? I mean, where do we go from here? Okay, it flies and it works. Awesome.
Right.
Now what's next? Where do they go?
Well, here's something that they do say in this article. Right off of here, they say, one pilot, one medic, one patient for an air ambulance is what they want. As far as range, we're working with batteries that are off the shelf. They say that are 220 watt, kind of. They're sort of a cylinder.
1 hour per kilogram.
Right? And they said that would give them a range of 155 miles. But what's really cool is the hydrogen fuel cells, which is the combination of their efficiencies, which gives them that same range at 620 miles.
Yeah, but 620 miles.
But they're saying that's for the same mass battery, which means that they could be on a unique, in a sense, solution towards what we say is always one of the drawbacks of the current crop of vehicles that are out there, that they suffer from weight, range, density problems, meaning they always have to carry these sophisticated battery packs in order to make that range work for them. Now, these guys are attacking that problem by basically using the same battery packs, but constantly keeping them tapped off with these hydrogen fuel cells, which is a remarkable solution. So,
yeah, no, it's really cool. Yeah, it's something that we've seen other people do. Same kind of thing, using like a generator, but having the generator be powered by hydrogen instead of something else. And of course, there's obviously no carbon emissions coming out of there. It's just water, and then you get energy from hydrogen, which of course is not as does not as weight as much of a weight issue as batteries themselves, or of course any other fluid for that matter. So yep,
it's a gorgeous design. Cool. And here there's a couple other things. They've actually, from what I understand, this is flown. It is tested. It's in the process of going through getting its certification. They're looking at 2024 for their full certification. And these guys did this all on one other thing, and that is a shoestring budget. Okay, if you go to their website, which is quite remarkable, it is quite barren. They give you the bare bones of what they're talking about here, the small team that actually developed it, and there really isn't much more information. And right now they're going through their funding phases, so they mean business in sense of these guys have gotten that far on their own. There's got to be some merit to a design like that, right? And David said, this is the year 2022 is the year of the flying car. I think it's the year of the flying car investment. I think that's what people are really after, is those investment dollars to start capitalizing on what are some innovative pieces of technology that, let's face it, up until the last 15 years with the justification of putting electric motors back in some sort of aircraft, weren't there. So how would you think, like, look, 10 years ago, right? The first little drones, the quads, start coming out on the marketplace. And no one, I don't think, or at least I didn't think of it, in economies of scale, that it was going to be going as quick as they are now. But look at where we are, and what technologies you think we don't even know about yet that might exist, that might power things into the future.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, just what you said, about these quads. If you go back and look at where like quads, like RC quads came from, they were all like custom built, right? So if you go back a little bit further than where you could buy them off the shelf, they were all, people would race them, but they were custom built. You'd have to get all the components and put it together, and it's very, very much custom. That's certainly not the case now. As you know, you can go anywhere, any big box store, or of course on the internet, and type a few things in, bam, and have one at your door in a few days. And that's, of course, like you said, economies of scale. Obviously there's a market there, right? So that drives innovation as well. But obviously investment follows that right off the bat too. If there's enough drive, investment, and people want to buy it. So, but I think we're seeing not a slowdown, because definitely, as we've talked about on the channel quite a bit, the innovation is definitely something that's just keep going. There's so many things coming out that almost, as we said, sometimes regulation is actually what's holding some of this stuff up. And we could see that with any of these vehicles that would carry people, of course, as you can imagine. So there's multiple things from around the world. Tons of people working on these. They're going through all different types of regulatory authorities from wherever they're geographically based or going to operate. And it's just, that's one of the things we've said about getting it to really see it happening. You could certainly say, if regulation wasn't a thing, these stuff would already be flying around.
Yeah, they would be.
And some places they are, of course. Like there's some already out. There's a whole bunch of them actually already flying. But yeah, I mean, I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll stop there. But then you get the idea. Yeah. It's just pretty amazing how quick this is coming about.
True. And then so hey, let us know what you think in the comments below, everybody. There's another entry into the marketplace. Is hydrogen the solution? I know Embraer is hot on that as being part of their solution as well. For other things, and we can talk about that, because someone left a comment, David did, in there. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, follow, ring that bell so you can be notified the next time we go live, and anytime we produce a video, because we do quite a few of them when we get a chance. To follow up on David's comment here is, what do we think about the Embraer Eve? And we have looked at it, and I don't know if you remember the design, Corey. What's your thoughts on where that actually falls in the whole economies of scale and the flying car eVTOL thing?
I think when we talk about some of the bigger players like Airbus, Embraer, some of the bigger players like that are already in the aviation space, and aerospace space, you could probably say that they have, and we've talked about this too on the channel, but when they develop something, they have a bit better, I wouldn't call it a leverage, but maybe a bit better know-how on how to get things maybe quicker in there. They're already operating in the space of helicopters or airplanes or whatever, and they kind of just adding into the vehicle. They know who to talk to in the regulatory authority. They know they have the development capability. They know where to produce it. They got that already. So I think those players are somebody, and I know we talk a lot about other companies like this one from today as well, AMSL Aero and a lot of these other companies. It's very interesting stuff, but I think, yeah, we shouldn't discount some of the big players, because just who they are, with the backing they've got.
And so there was a great article, I think it was on Auto Week this week, that said, hey, this is the year of Formula One that we were supposed to see the leveling of the fields, right? Where the spending cap was supposed to make a huge difference, yet here we are, 7 races left, and there's a disparity in points that's going to equal, if not be greater than last year, if things continue on the same trajectory. Same winners have won multiple times. Other teams still finding difficulty making it in there, right? So, with that said, once you have a competitive advantage, doesn't mean that just because all the playing field of money spent becomes an equal playing field, because what ends up happening is, where does a company like Embraer, Airbus, and all that have a place that they have an advantage because they probably have their own wind tunnels, which is a massive advantage because they probably have tons and tons of data on what works and what doesn't work in some of their designs. They've already hit some critical pitfalls in other aircraft designs that have moved them in other trajectories that they know don't work. So they're able to pivot quickly and understand that that's automatically a design philosophy that they don't want to follow. So something like the Embraer Eve, something like an Airbus that's Citybus, or those that are in that competitive space have a numerical money spent in the past advantage. Then if you talk about companies like Jetupterra and something like that, which is an upstart, the difference is Jetupterra and companies like that have massive advantages because they've partnered in with a Northrop Grumman or a Honeywell or another company that automatically knows their business models too and what will work and what won't work. And now that that those have become unified fronts, you know, if you look at them up against a Joby or an Archer or something like that, suddenly those guys need that SPAC money to catch up in their cycles to, you know, because do they know keys about what rapid production, you know, prototypes that they're going to be able to use, or what assembly arms that are going to work best in their factories to assemble these things? There's a lot of those places where other manufacturers already have a highlight and a competitive advantage. So yes, to simply put that in that little compact conversation, when the big players like Bell, Sikorsky, and others really start to land their products, because let me tell you, they're working on it. And Bell's strategy was really smart. 4 years ago, Bell bought an air cabin, just the cabin, to CES and to, I think it was Helicopter Expo, right? But no propulsive units.
I think it was Expo,
no propulsive units, because why scare your market away when you know that you're going to be switching to an electric propulsive unit in the not too distant future? You don't want to do that. And then 2 years later, they showed up with the whole thing, right? So brilliant marketing strategy on that perspective. But I think the Eve has got great legs to make it. And I'm partial to Embraer. I really am. I like them. All right, other comments out here. Are you guys ready for the metaverse? What? Okay, you go first.
Whatever. It's still Facebook. I mean, let's be honest. Whatever. You call it what you want. I mean, for just my own 2 cents real quick. I actually am Facebook, sure, but I don't use Facebook like much at all. I just don't.
Yeah, you don't.
It's just not my thing.
I have started to curtail my use of Facebook, and even though, look, I've got a Quest.
I mean, I don't use WhatsApp.
Got an Oculus Quest first gen, right? And it's a fantastic device, but it comes with the caveat that once they made it that you had to use Facebook as your interface, I started looking for another part, because the metaverse to me means, it's like the metaverse shouldn't be attached to a social networking group. The metaverse should be, I have a Steam account, or I have this, or I have that, and I get to use it as I want. And if I want to go ahead and sign into a social media group, I can. And I think that's part of the thing, that remarketing yourself to recover from what's basically been a barrage of bad news for a company. And they are getting hammered, and rightfully so, because, you know, this is what happens when a paradigm shift happens and social media isn't, you know, found to be so successful as it needs to be, and it needs to morph and modify to be better controlled by the end user. So I agree with Corey. It's, you know, that's one thing. Even though, look, we are on a social media platform of sorts, YouTube.
Yeah. Here we're talking to you on YouTube. I mean, I get it, but
I mean, I guess the dichotomy there is that YouTube allows us to produce the type of content that we want unedited in many cases, because we're doing an informative show. And in that particular case, that we have a different relationship, I guess, with social media in that respect. How's that? I don't think we're trying to be influencers. We're trying to be more educators, would be it, I guess.
I think so. Yeah. As we are, you know, scratching our itch for learning about stuff that is going on, that's very exciting, we just figured we'd bring it to you guys too. So we're not trying to make you guys do anything you don't want to do, other than just learn along with us. So
and participate. That's what we look forward to, the participation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, but yeah.
Okay. So David also asked, what do you guys think of Archer Aviation as another Nikolai Motors in terms of being a scam? Okay. We have to tread delicately here, because do I think that they produced a shell of an aircraft that can't fly and it's a scam? No, I think they're producing a flying prototype that has the ability. I think what they're going to fall into is the trap of, look what it took from the mind of, say, like an Elon Musk to make Tesla successful, right? It took not only innovation, but a forefront of integrating technologies where he doesn't have a one technology platform. He's got a multi-technology platform with their AI learning, with their adaptive driving resources. So he's literally got a platform that works differently. I don't know if Archer has that type of strategy because I just don't know if they've got that in their hive mind as to what their development cycles are going to be. So they're going to spend every penny that they have in that development bucket, I believe, to become successful. And then they're going to have to prove it based on weight per person, per passenger, per flight, per mile, per maintenance, usage, work case that they've got there to make it work. Your thoughts?
I think I don't have much to add to that because that's all basically exactly what I was going to say. I mean, we're seeing Archer and some other people come through with certifications they need to kind of make the next step, but it's really to see how they come out the other side and how they do it. And it kind of hints along with what we mentioned, with all these companies going SPAC, they have an idea that does seem like it's going to work. They show a little bit of results, and bam, they get an SPAC, and then you're like, okay, so there's all this money tied up into something, and you're wondering, there's a lot of other players getting in this market. And as we just mentioned, just the last segment, some of these players that don't go SPAC because they're, Airbus, they're Bell, they're people who don't need to because they already are in that space. And I don't know. It's hard to say.
And I guess as we move forward, look, here's another challenge that a lot of people have to understand. And we've worked for major helicopter industry service providers before. Two of the major helicopter industry service providers in the United States of America both went bankrupt within 8 months of each other over the course of 2 years ago. Okay. So I think people are trying to anticipate that there's all this money to be made. But the problem is, this is all cyclical based on the markets, right? We are in a hyperinflated market right now. That means that everyone can throw money around thinking that there's going to be passengers that are going to be able to purchase tickets on these things, and they're going to be throwing money in this guy to get on board. But inflation is hurting your end line customer for this. Right now, that's going to be a big problem. And even the price of oil going up right now is meaning that materials to produce batteries, to move things over land, everything right now is getting so expensive that development cycles are literally getting eaten into by percentage points of available cash because they've got to cover the costs of even getting these things in the development phase. So there's a lot of little factors that I think that are piling up that I think people have to think more long-term about the next 4 or 5 years and the market conditions that are really going to be there and available for how much profit these things really need to generate before they become massive sales hits. It's a big conversation, I know, but it's worth having.
Just touch on that, and then I'm done too. But just touching on that, a lot of companies talk about the tech. They show off the news of the tech. They talk about who they're partnered with, and we've talked about on this channel before the hurdles, some of the major hurdles to getting the air taxi as a whole market actually up and running. We talked about just where are they going to park these things, because a lot of them aren't talking about using existing airports. They're talking about vertiports and having them be part of a, if you know about the spoke in the wheel, depending on if you're into aviation or not, how do these gonna integrate into the bigger aviation economy, like bigger airports, but not operate from there? And are people gonna want them in the neighborhood? Are we talking about local and city ordinances? And just again, where are they gonna fly? And regulation, of course, is always in there. So there's a whole lot of other things that not all these companies talk about when you go to their website or to look at their news or anything. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, you must think that they're thinking about it, but it doesn't seem to be something that they're telling us what their plan is. So I'm with you, man. It's like we said before, you can have a great idea, great technology, have it patented, and the company doesn't make it because of something else, maybe something out of your control or something you're just not planning for. So it's if you're in aviation, you should know aviation is another sector that's it's tough. It's a tough sector. And this is a brave new world in aviation, air taxis. So we'll see.
So and here's another great example. There was a flying hybrid seaplane, right? A 2-person one with an angle of attack indicator, and I forget the name of it. Oh God! And it's gorgeous. It's really nice. Very pretty design, but they've had a number of setbacks, and it was featured Okay, so about 4 years ago, there was a demo that came out for Microsoft Flight Simulator back on the PC, and they featured this aircraft in it. And I can't remember which one it was, and it was the picture that actually had a icon, the icon. Okay, so the icon is a perfect example of what happens in a marketplace where you can market something very strongly, you can throw a lot of money at it, but it doesn't mean that just because it hits, it checks all the boxes, that in aviation there's a strict set of confines that have to happen to be met to be successful in the marketplace. And safety is one of them. Great looking prototypes and wrapped in carbon fiber and stage lights and lots of money thrown at it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful. Not saying it's going to be a scam, just saying that that's not the pathway to success. So there's that one. Man, we got a lot more. What's going on here? You want to take this next one?
Okay. David also says, if Tesla builds their own eVTOL, it will validate the industry and put a lot of attention on some of those companies. I know I've seen multiple comments from Elon saying he's got ideas on an electric airplane or a VTOL airplane, but I know and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was just saying, actually, I think what he said was it wasn't going to work out until battery density got to such a certain point. And I don't remember what he said exactly what it was, but that was basically the idea that he's got ideas on it. And so, Elon's got ideas on tons of stuff. But as far as if Tesla were to build it, of course, and it worked, to his satisfaction, it would. Well, now I'm thinking about that. He's gonna have the same problems if he did an eVTOL just as the rest of these people. Where are they gonna take these? Where are they gonna land and take off from? And of course, if they're electric, then you charge them wherever you want to, because he'll have chargers. He'll put them up. But it'll be the same kind of thing. Infrastructure. Again, we're gonna land these things on top of old heliports on top of buildings. Are you gonna build a parking garage that the top floor is meant to be a vertiport? These are all things that just don't happen. You got to have space and infrastructure for that too.
July 27th, 2021, he actually tweeted, "I'm dying to do a supersonic VTOL electric jet, but I already have way too much on my plate. Any more work and my brain will explode." So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know he's got ideas, but he's, as far as we know, not working on it. So
interesting. Well, because hey, it's Tesla. He's got to have he's going
to Mars. He's got other things to do.
Yeah. I'd love to see the semi truck. I'd love to see Cybertruck hit the marketplace and the Roadster, and there's so much collaboration that he needs to do to get those projects kind of finished off before people really give him the credit that's deserved on things that are still in the pipeline and the success that company has for what they're delivering right now. So I think that there's a lot more there. A lot more. David also, AABB Group is going to be building Lilium's charging infrastructure. I can feel if Lilium is going parabolic. That's interesting. If they go that way, that'll be, I don't know about Lilium's ability to get some of their infrastructure built in the places that they're choosing. They still have to be very careful, because I know that they're going to be facing, again, a system that's not developed yet fully enough to put all these eVTOLs in there. But I'm going to pass on that one for a minute, because I want to get to the last thing we need to discuss. And that is basically pretty simple. I just want to get the conversation out there. Sorry, David, but we just got to move on for a minute. And that is, Corey and I wanted to talk about this because, hey, unless you guys have or haven't seen it, Dune obviously hit theaters and also hit HBO Max. We both watched it. I enjoyed it as a comparative to the old movie. Really loved the fact that they used aviation sounds for the actual flying dragonfly aircraft, which were fantastic. But the best part is there's going to be a number 2. You excited? Because I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm. So somebody who watched the original Dune and then the Dune remakes and Children of Dune, and my dad was big into Dune, so it's always been something we knew about growing up too. Seeing this remake, it was a pretty. Certainly there's differences, right, with the series and the books. Fine, right, there is, but I think it was pretty entertaining, and it kept the main story and the main characters. I thought it was good. It was something I went into. I purposely didn't know if it was going to be part 1, part 2, but I had the pretty good assumption it was going to be multiple series, multiple movies. I purposely wasn't following that to kind of be excited and not knowing. I think the key point to take away from the link we have down below for you guys is that they did greenlight the number 2, the part 2, as it would be. But they specifically are saying it's a theatrical part 2, meaning that it's not going to be on HBO or whatever other streaming service they may be wanting to go with at the time. It's going to be in the theaters, which is great. I mean, I want to go back to theaters too. Maybe you guys are already going back to theaters. It's just something. It's going to be, I wouldn't say gamble, but a calculated risk with the way things are going. And but Dune's already been quite successful. I liked it. I mean, I know you liked it too. So
I really enjoyed it.
What do you think, man?
I really enjoyed the fact that this is they did it. I think they did justice to the vision of Dune. I think there was a lot more eccentric characters that were in the original. Obviously, you had Sting, who played a little bit more of a lunatic. The Baron was played a little bit more in a different role. This Baron was a little bit more almost Darth Vader ominous. They were able to get over the other things like the shields that in the first movie were basically big blocks and blobs because they had to be animated on there. They did a great job with that. I think overall the adaptation of bringing together a living, breathing world, really, I think they did a great job of it because their sandworms were a lot more believable as well as their environments.
Yeah, sure.
The development of the characters full on, especially it's Paul, right? Was his name? Yeah,
Paul Atreides. Yeah,
I think his development was more like of the Spider-Man genre, where they gave a little bit more character development of the long term of how he's really going to be a character. And I think the length of having it broken over 2 movies might do more justice because we've only just arrived at the midpoint of the other movie where the real fight begins, right? So if you believe that that Dune was actually the really slow first half, because a lot of people did complain about the first hour being fairly slow. Well,
I've heard that.
Yeah. Well, the other part is you could expect a great finish, right?
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of story there.
It's like some of these other movies that were really meant to be one giant movie, but they broke them up for either funding reasons or, again, nobody wants to. Back when movies were in theaters, they don't want to go to the movie theater and see a 5-hour movie because it's just too long. But these movies where they're almost not Dune in this case, but movies where they're literally shot all at once because it's one movie, and then they just cut them up because it's just what they're gonna do. So, all
right, well, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and like, subscribe, follow. That was just a quick conversation. I do want to follow up on one thing. Hey, David, I do have the article right here that says ABB and Lithium team up and they're revolutionizing the charging infrastructure for regional air travel. So we're gonna do. Dive into it more on the next episode. That's something
cool. Yeah,
because before I even speak as to what I think that they can or can't do, I want to be able to make sure that I've researched them a little bit more before I just throw it out there, because that's what I want to do. So, and there's a lot in here.
I will say the only thing I'll say about that is we do know that the Lilium vertiport that's going in near Orlando, looking into that a little bit. We know they're having a bit of trouble with the aviation authority in that area. We'll go into it more as well, but it's kind of just what we were touching on a little bit earlier on how there's a lot of things that line up before air taxis are like happening, like regular every day. They're just doing, they're in business, and one of that is where they're going to put them, and they got to get approval to put them there, and they got to be regulated. Regulators got to approve to put them there. In aviation, not only get all the actual space and the power to charge these things, but also depending where it is, they have to go into certain. If it's I know down here, depending where you put them, might be a protected area, protected forest. I know that's kind of off track, but anyway, point being, there's a lot of things that they gotta get going right, and we already know that at least the one we know local where we are is already having issues. So,
and talking about things that gotta get going, it's got
to go. Yeah, cool.
All right, everybody. Sweet. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Enjoy your happy Halloween. Get the kids out. Have a beautiful time. And we'll see you guys all back here on Monday. Take care. Have a great day. Peace out. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Later, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.
Bye. Sorry for cutting it so short, but I really got to run. Bye, everybody. See ya. Peace.
Bye.